Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we're taking a look today at the Chuwi Hi9. This is an 8.4-inch Android tablet, and it costs about $200 on GearBest.com right now. So we're going to be taking a closer look at this in just a second. But I do want to let you know that this video is being sponsored by Pulse.com. They are a great service that can fix your mobile device anywhere you are. You can go on their website to book an appointment. They will come out and meet you when they say they will come. There's no windows or anything here. You get a set appointment. In many instances, they can come out the same day. Typically, repairs will cost less than your local retail store will cost, and they guarantee their parts for life. We had a really fun time with Pulse here in the studio. We had a technician come out to repair a phone here on site, so you can see exactly what the process is like. And if you got a cracked screen or something and don't have the time to get it fixed, give them a call. They'll even come to a coffee shop to get you going again. And if you use my coupon code Lon.TV, you'll get $20 off your next repair. Pretty good deal, and it gets better with that coupon. And I want to thank them for their support of the channel. Now, the tablet we're looking at today came in free of charge from GearBest.com. However, all the opinions you're about to hear are my own, and nobody has reviewed what you're about to see before it was uploaded. So let's get to the review. So let's take a look now at the hardware. When I review some of these Chinese brands, I always like to remind people that you're kind of buying at your own risk, and you're never quite sure what you might end up with. Sometimes one device to the next might be a little different. In this case, I was surprised by the build quality from Chuwi here, and not in a good way, because we've looked at a lot of their other devices in the past, and they've always been decent. Not spectacular, but decent. This one really feels cheap to me. The backing here is a very lightweight plastic, not very high quality. The screen was coming up here a bit on the top here, so we kind of snapped it back together when it arrived, and it didn't feel like a shipping issue. It felt like a build quality issue with it. So immediately its curb appeal was not pleasing to me, and that's one of those things you run into with these devices. You're kind of buying at your own risk. The other thing that we noticed here on the screen is that it really picks up fingerprints quite easily. You can see just how greasy it is here, and we really haven't been using it all that much this morning. We had wiped down the screen and got it all cleaned up, and it's already picking up dirt and grease again. A lot of tablets put on, at least more expensive tablets, put on a layer to prevent that kind of buildup. This one doesn't have that. And we've seen better quality out of other $200 or less tablets, including some from name brands like Lenovo. So buy at your own risk here. Our out-of-the-box experience was not great. But that said, from a hardware perspective, it isn't bad for the price point. It's got an 8.4-inch display. It's IPS with pretty decent viewing angles. 2560 by 1600, so it does have slightly better resolution than some other tablets around this price point, although I've been very satisfied with a 1080p display on an 8-inch tablet like this, so I don't know if you necessarily need all that much resolution. And the display is running very cold, and that the whites are a little bluer than I normally like. So my preference is a warmer display. This one is very cold in that it's very blue, and you'll notice that when you're reading text and other things on there. It does have an MTK 8173 quad-core processor, so it is relatively up-to-date in that regard. 64 gigabytes of onboard storage, which is good, and 4 gigabytes of RAM, which is also good. And this one is running Android 7.0, so it's relatively up-to-date on that front. 348.6 grams, or 12.3 ounces, so not all that heavy here. You can see what it looks like from the side. Not much for controls and add-ons here. You do have an SD card slot on the top here, a micro SD card slot. That will take cards up to 128 gigabytes. You have a headphone jack here, a micro USB port for charging. I don't believe it supports fast charging. And that is pretty much it for its controls, along with the volume rocker over here on the side. The speaker is in the back here, not stereo, so not very good sound quality out of this. But overall, I am okay with the hardware configuration, not so okay with the build quality. Let's see how it performs. So let's kick things off with some web browsing, and we're going to go over here to nasa.gov. One of the nice things about the tablet, given that it does have 4 gigs of RAM, is that you'll notice pretty snappy performance when you're jumping back and forth between apps, because it is able to keep more things in the background perhaps than you might otherwise have on a tablet with a lesser amount of available RAM to you. But overall, it feels like it's going through the web pages here pretty nicely, so I think you'll be able to have a decent web browsing experience, although you will have a slightly bluish kind of hue to the screen. Let's take a look at YouTube now and see how that loads up here. So I'm loading it up for the first time. So you might see a little bit of a delay on these apps when you first load them, and then if they're in memory, they'll load up a little bit quicker. So we can play my weekly wrap-up video from last night here and go through this. Again, the speakers on the back here, it sounds very tinny, so if you are looking to listen to music or something, or even your YouTube videos, you definitely want to plug in some headphones to that headphone jack here. But so far it looks like it's working okay for video watching and web browsing and that kind of thing, and this is about what I would expect out of a $200 tablet. So let's take a look at some game playing on the device. We've got Minecraft loaded up here, and it seems like it's running pretty decently. The frame rate's pretty good, and the resolution, of course, looks nice. You'll see a little bit of lag here as it's running, and I think partly because it is running at that higher resolution. We did see a little better performance out of that Lenovo tablet we looked at last week, but that one was running at 1080p versus the resolution on this one. So you might see a little bit of slowdown here or there, but I think from the game playing experience, it should be just fine. I'm going to switch out of this now and go over to Goat Simulator, which is another 3D game here on the platform. And you can see here it's running pretty nicely on this one as well. So I think by and large, from the gameplay perspective, most of the Android games should run fairly nicely on here. Emulation shouldn't be an issue, but this tablet is not powerful enough to do something like the GameCube emulator Dolphin or something more high-end, but I think a lot of 16-bit games and 8-bit games should function well on here, maybe even the original PlayStation. We also ran our usual benchmark, the 3D Mark Slingshot test, and there we got a score of 976, which puts it pretty much in line with some of the other tablets we've looked at recently in this classification, these 8-inch tablets. So that Lenovo Tab 4 8 Plus we looked at last week is just slightly slower than this one, but within the margin of error. So by and large, again, I think you'll get a decent gaming experience out of here, but we have yet to find an 8-inch tablet that's as powerful as the now unfortunately defunct NVIDIA K1. And before we close out, there is a camera system on here, not a great one. There's a 5-megapixel camera here on the back. The pictures are okay, nothing great, but if you need a photo in a pinch, you can probably grab one. It also does video 1080p at 30 frames per second. No stabilization. It really doesn't look all that great, but again, if you got to take a video or something, you can do it in a pinch. On the front is a little 2-megapixel selfie cam here. Again, not great, but good enough for doing a Google Hangout or a Skype call or something like that. So overall, if it's not already apparent, my enthusiasm for this tablet is not that great. I think you can do better for the money. I usually see better stuff out of Chuwi than what we're seeing today. So by and large, I think you can skip this one if you are in the market for a $200 tablet. I do like the fact that it does have an ample amount of RAM and storage, which is good to see, but that doesn't make up for its low quality build. This is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching.
This channel is brought to you by the Lon.TV supporters, including gold level supporters of the Black Eyed and Blues Music Hour podcast: Chris Allegretta, Gerard Newberg, and Kalyan Kumar. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to lon.tv/support to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit lon.tv/s.